Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So first of all, I'd like to say a big massive thank you to each and every one of you who like, comment, share and subscribe to the channel. It helps with to fight the algorithm and push the message of Help Heal Serve out to a broader audience. Also in the comment section below you will see pinned is my Patreon account where I offer a wide range of spiritual services, etc, etc. What are we going to be speaking about in this video? So I thought it would be funny to share with you some of my fondest memories with spirit. I've just dropped my son off there, so I've got a couple of minutes spare. And I thought, yeah, like I say, I'm going to tell you about some of the memories that really stand out for me. So the first memory, you've all heard it before, so I'm not going to bore you with it. That is when I first seen spirit at the age of 6-year-old. For those of you, in fact, let's go into it because I've got a little bit of time. And for those of you who might have not watched that video, it saves you watching the video, doesn't it? So my first memory with the spirit world was at the age of 6-year-old. It was quite a bit of a funny story actually. I was downstairs in the sitting room one night and I remember looking up to the sky and I heard and felt, it's very hard to explain if you've never had this. Now I know it was claircognizance. However, at the time it was a deep knownness. I looked up to the sky and I heard the words, "Something's coming tonight." And I was just like, what on earth are you on about? What's coming tonight? Tell me more. However, I didn't know what voice had said this, and to be honest, I kind of wrote it off as me just being young. Then the night time come and I had completely forgot about it. I went up to bed, got tucked in, you know, got on the duvets and went to sleep. Woke up round about what I can only describe as 2 o'clock in the morning. The reason why I knew it was that time, it was just so dark outside. That was the only way for me to be able to gauge it. There wasn't a clock in the room, so you know, and I don't even think I could have probably told the time anyway at 6, to be honest. I probably only learned when I was 20. Joking. So yeah, that tickled us a bit. So yeah, so going back to this episode. So first of all, I was in bed and all of a sudden, I woke up just wide awake, and I remember looking out my peripheral out, and then kind of just looking to where the staircase would be. And I always remember this vividly. There was a light that was brighter than any light that I had seen. And I mean, obviously I've seen it since, and I've seen the light, and now I know why it was so pure. But at that time, it was like, even though it was just white, it was the most beautiful and luscious white that you could possibly imagine. Words cannot depict it at that age. So I seen this white light. Now I knew from the location of where the bedroom was in retrospect to where the landing light was, that the light wasn't on. I could see the light and I could see it wasn't on. And even now thinking about it, I remember the feelings that went through my entire body. I was just like, you know, it was just like, oh, what's going on here? And then I remembered the voice and I thought, oh, they're coming for us, they're coming for us. So anyway, this leads us to the next part where I put my head under the quilt. And I'm just sitting there and I'm going, oh, no, what's happening? And then the next minute, you know, I take down these quilt covers and I'm looking again to where the light was. And now I notice that it is magnifying. It is not just a glowing light no more. It is far more than that. So, as you can imagine, 6-year-old Jordan, you know, hid back under the quilts, wishing that this would all go away and thinking that aliens were coming to collect us and all of these weird things that you would have running through your mind. So then the next second, I takes down these quilts again. You know, I had a little bit of Dutch courage. For those of you who don't know, Dutch courage is a little spurt of braveness. And there before me, lo and behold, were 2 full body apparitions. Now, what is an apparition for those of you who don't know? So an apparition is what you would be referred to as a spirit, but in its entirety. You know, you are going to see the entire outline of the spirit. Understand, because this was my first time of using clairvoyance, the ability, I could only see the white outline of 2 figures. However, these figures, you know, they were very, very different in size. And at that time, I didn't know how these people were. So anyway, in these moments, as I am locked eyes and sight on these 2 spirits, I froze, paralyzed with fear. All through my body, I could feel, you know, the rush, the blood, the adrenaline. My heart was pumping. And it's one of those things. Now I know the reason why all of this happened. It is because my body went into the fight or flight mechanism. It didn't really know what it needed to do in that moment. It knew that it shouldn't be seeing what it was seeing. At the age of 6, we had already been kind of conditioned to know what was right and what was wrong. So everyone's probably going to be thinking, oh my God, we don't want this to happen to us. But understand, at no point through the entire endeavour was I put in any way, shape or form in danger. It was just very much my survival instincts had kicked in, the fight or flight mechanism, which, fun fact, that is why each and every one of us as a species are still here on this earth plane, because it does a very good job of keeping us alive, if I'm honest. So I was never put in any sort of harm, but I always remember when I was just looking vacant, I would have loved to have seen my face. Now, I've just heard Spirit giggling. Every time I mention that, I always hear a little laugh. Because my face must have been a right picture. I mean, let's be honest, if I had a way of recording it, I mean, I would have probably been a YouTube sensation by this point, because it would have been a right picture. So, like I said there is nothing to fear from spirit. That was my first experience with the spirit world. Then we go to the age of 8. So fast forward to the age of 8. And I'm at a family outing at a castle. Now, for those of you who don't know, a castle is a fortified structure. It is somewhere that you would class as a safe haven from the medieval times. Now, I remember walking up to the castle, and all of a sudden, at the age of 8-year-old, I had a cobweb like of energy just washed straight over my body. And it was surreal because I could remember the feelings that I had from the first interaction with spirit. However, this was different. This was very, very different in its entirety. So I didn't automatically resonate the feelings and emotions and the sadness and the sorrow and the pain and the hurt and the mental anguish, the suffering. All of these different emotions that were going through me in those moments, I didn't associate it with the spirit world. Then, a couple of seconds later, I looked to, something drew my attention to the very top of the castle wall. And there, before my very eyes, I seen another spirit. This spirit was black. It was a tall black spirit. Now, there's going to be a lot of you who are going to be wondering, did I just see something evil? Did I just see something demonic? No, please understand. Whether you see spirit is white or black, it is the reflection of the light at the time. It holds no value whatsoever. There is nothing evil in the spirit world. And if you have a good understanding of the spirit world, you know the words to which I speak, and you know that that is true. So coming back to it, because I didn't want to put any of you off thinking I was seeing things like that. I goes into the castle anyway, and the intrigue, like everything that the spirit world does, they do things to intrigue you. Now, from me seeing it, there's going to be a lot of you thinking, oh my God, I bet you, what on earth, I bet you didn't want to go up them stairs and see what it was. Quite the opposite, to be honest. I ran up them stairs at the fastest speed my little legs could carry me, and when I got to the tops of the stairs, I was greeted by the spirit, and the spirit just literally stood there as if to say, you can see me, and then shot off. So that was my second interaction. Then, throughout my entire life, I mean, in the early years, I've done ghost hunting. I don't like the terminology now. The word ghost hunting just makes us feel sick to the stomach. The reason why is first of all, because the terminology of ghost hunting, it shows mankind as a species, as, what we are in our raw self. Anything we don't understand, we think like we have the God-given right to destroy. That is our birthright. We can't, anything we don't understand, we kill, we destroy. And that's why it infuriates us ghost hunt. That's why you will never see me using that terminology on this platform. Fun fact, I mean, I did used to like the word ghost hunting before I worked alongside of the spirit world. But now you have to understand, the spirit world are my friends. The spirit world are an extension of me. So that's the reason why it's like me coming up to any one of you and saying, I'm going to go out hunting your friends tomorrow. What would you say? You would say, you absolute lunatic, you stay away from my friends. And that is the way I am with the spirit world. And for any of you who think I'm just rambling lunatic, you can see by any one of my videos, or, the intelligence that comes through when I ask spirit to do something on command, they do it. When I deliver readings with accuracy, I don't have readings that people don't understand. There's going to be a lot of you wondering how that happens, and it's very, very simple. It is because the conditioning of the mind. It is because my connection with the spirit world is like that. I fully understand the spirit world, and I put my full trust into the spirit world. Each and every one of you can do that, and from my channel you will gain the understanding that you need to be able to do that. So coming back to I'm going to use the terminology of ghost hunting, because for this video it's going to be fitting, and you're going to know why I don't like saying it anyway. So I always remember the first time I went ghost hunting, and I kills us to say that word, but I remember the first time I went ghost hunting, and it was almost as if it was meant to be. It was almost as if, you know, that was the way that the spirit world could get to me. They could get to me by the intrigue. They could get to me by, you know, me wanting to know more. So I was actually at work for the entirety of my adult life. I'm 32-year-old now, and from the age of 17, I've always worked 60-hour weeks. I've always been in security. And for my first security job, I worked in what can only be described as, it was like a rundown warehouse. Now, yes, we can all appreciate it doesn't matter what part of the country you're from, what part of the world you're from, anything that's run down is going to have that sort of a creepy feel to it. I decided for whatever reason to get out my phone and start doing what's called an electronic voice phenomenon. It's called an EVP. This is a practice in which we will take an electrical instrument and we can record the energy realm by, you know, the vibrations, and we can record the energy realm. Yes, they don't have voices, but however, understand this, they can manipulate the energy so that we can pick up on it. We don't have voice boxes in the spirit world. This is why we speak in this world. This is how we communicate in this world. The spirit world communicate with energy, okay? That's why it doesn't matter what language you speak in the spirit world. We all speak the same. It is energy, you know, it's claircognizance. It's very much like what we have in this world. So coming back to the topic anyway, I gets out my phone, and all of a sudden I heard a sound of a whip, like whoop-ch. Even to this day I will never forget it. Whoop-ch. And then I heard the sound of a cry, and then a shotgun. Now, it wasn't like a shotgun in terms of our era. This was a musket. This was I should have said musket rather than shotgun, because that's going to give you the wrong impression. But anyway, it was some sort of firearms, and a lot of you are going to be thinking, oh my God, what on earth did you just capture there? So what you have to remember is the world that we live in, it's very much like a hard drive of a computer. The world, the energy, this materialistic world that we live in, there are elements to the past that will be stained in the world's history in terms of, you know, it will always be there. It's like a fragment of a hard drive. Although we can delete an entire hard drive of a computer, there will be parts of the hard drive that are disturbed. You can't delete them, whatever you do. Now, this is a well-known fact. It's not me just saying rubbish. So this is why sometimes we have scenarios where this can occur. Also, you know, the spirit world or the world of intelligence, they knew that was going to intrigue me. So the next minute, you know, I'm taking somebody else on a walk around of the building, another security guard. And he was quite engrossed by the idea of the recording I had captured. So anyway, I took him round with us. And on the entirety of the video, you could hear a male voice breathing. Now, this wasn't breathing in terms of how I breathe or any of you breathe. This was somebody who was suffering in terms of they were struggling to breathe. So that was a little bit bizarre. And then the next minute, you know, I had lots of female voices coming through, lots of male voices coming through on the recording speaking to me. And I was just blown away by it, because at this point, the colleague that I was with, he was there also, and he couldn't believe it, because he was like saying your name, they're talking to you, like, what on earth are you doing? What's this trick? And I says, it's no trick. And if I'm completely honest with you, it freaked us out a bit, because I was not at the right part. Spirit just said I was not at the right part of my spiritual development to be working alongside of the spirit at that time, because it didn't matter how much of an understanding they give me, I still had a lot to live. Understand, I still have a lot to live, but you know, this is my journey, this is my path now, and I'm happy with this as a path. And to be honest, I sing to the heavens that I have been given the opportunity to work alongside the spirit world and to help people on this earth plane and unite them with their loved ones. So it's one of those things. It's like spirit world knew this was going to be my path, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But coming back to the story, that was my first interaction in terms of, you know, with somebody else ghost hunting, and it freaked us out a bit because I was like, oh my god, why are they speaking to us? Why am I getting all of this? And then I've done is, you're done, you know, I ended up going back to it. I managed to catch photographs of fully formed people. I managed to catch, you know, spirit talking to us, video footage of spirit coming towards us, loads of these different things. And at the time I just was thought, oh, this is just everyone, you know, everyone does this, you know. Then I started watching things like Ghost Adventurers, Paranormal, all these paranormal hunting teams. And there was just something about all of these programs that had me like that. I was like a fish on a hook. I just needed to know more. Now I know why. Because you are all going to see from the episodes that I am going to be doing, Soul Seekers is not about entertainment. Soul Seekers is not about entertaining the audience. It is the polar opposite, actually. It is about educating each and every one of you about the spirit world, the intelligence behind the spirit world, and why we should not fear the spirit world. Now, that was Spirit who come straight through there, so I know there's a reason why they wanted me to say that at that point. So now we're going to fast forward to now. I mean, you know, I see spirit. There is no difference for me seeing the spirit to when I'm having a conversation with another human being. And there's going to be a lot of you who don't understand what I mean there, but I only know that I've been communicating with the spirit when the spirit disappears. That is the only time. I see spirit as clear as day as you would see me now on this camera. So I hope I haven't bored any of you if you've stuck around till this end, this long in the journey. I mean, I would like to thank you for staying. I'd like to thank everyone for all of your feedback, for all of your help, all of your love. You know, it means a lot to me and my team that all of these videos, you know, we have and managed to reach out and help individuals along this path. And even though I'm just sharing little stories, there's going to be somebody who this story was meant for. Understand this, all of these videos that I do, whilst I don't know who they are for, I know that the spirit world will bring the right people to these videos and they will get education from them. It doesn't matter whether it's for anyone who's coming onto YouTube or anyone who wants to do exactly what I do. Understand this, it doesn't matter whether your video is 2 minutes long, 5 minutes long, or 15 minutes long, or 2 hours long. What does matter is the content within the video. If you have something that is very important, then you speak your truth, you tell it. You don't know who that information is going to help. So why keep it from people? Why put yourself down? Remember to go out and speak your truth. Now, just so everyone's fully aware as well, before I end this video, everyone go and check out Trudy HSU. She's just I'll get my words out. She's just done a channeling video, which, I mean, I watched it and it's absolutely spot on. It's, you know, hats off to Trudy. You can see how hard she's working at this moment in time, and it would be great if each and every one of you could go over to her channel, drop it a like. You know, it's good, it boosts each and every one of your confidence, and watch the video because it's fascinating. I was gripped to it, and you know, I work it with channeling, and I was just taken back and mesmerized by the story and Trudy's ability to tell the story in her way. You can see, you know, the positivity speaks volumes. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. If you did like this content, check out the videos that are going to be pinned to the top left and right of this video. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.